Hello everybody, welcome back to another brand new video. Today is different because this is my first ever pass around video. Well, technically it's not my first ever pass around video because technically the Telesto was a pass around knife, but that didn't go so well. So anyways, this is my technically second pass around knife. This is my QUIRKY Kirin. This is a special trainer that's been floating around for the past few weeks, and it's gotten its way to me. And in the limited time that I had with it, I thought I'd record a review for this to share my thoughts on it, since a couple people have shared their thoughts on it. Is that blood on the tag? Either that's just like a bunch of either that's discolored or that has blood on it. I'm not too sure. This is a trainer, so I'm not too sure how there'd be blood on it. It might be etch. It might be acid etch. But anyways, this is a trainer from My Curo Works on Instagram. The link to their Instagram and their website will be in the description down below, because I do believe they still have some of these in stock, both in the blemish models, which is the one I'm taking a look at today, and in the full production models. The full production, or the standard one that's not blemished, is $450, while the blemished I think is $340, $350, around there. It's like $100 less. But the way it's going to come is the same, and I'm going to just show you that real quick before we talk about the knife. So it comes in this little, almost like small little pelican case. It's not an actual pelican case, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty small, sleek. Never had a knife come in one of these before, so it was pretty interesting. Most of the time when knife makers do something like this, they do this, which is etch out a nice shape to put the knife in there. So there's the Kirin itself. But you also get a couple of goodies, including a little T10. Oh my god, this is very cumbersome. A little T10 torque bit. One of these little ones, not my favorite types, but apparently all examples of the Kirin are going to come with a sample bottle of carbon honey. You can't really see that, but this is the first time I tried carbon honey, and I will leave it brief. It's pretty good. But now let's get into the Kirin itself. So one thing that is very interesting about this knife is that the blade is made out of titanium. I'll get to the reason as to why that is in a minute, but let's just cover the overall construction. So as I said before, this is a trainer. The blade is made out of titanium. It's running on bushings and washers. It has a Zen pin systems, which are also made out of titanium, and it has channel constructed 7075 aluminum handles. There are a lot of things to cover about each things, but let's just start off with the blade. So the blade is, again, constructed out of titanium. You can see it has a very bronzish hue going on there. There's a lot of benefits to having a blade made out of titanium, but one of the biggest ones, and the one focused for this knife in particular, is to be lightweight. Titanium is much more lightweight than something like steel or like steel counterparts. And because it's a trainer blade, another big benefit of titanium is that there doesn't need to be any edge retention required for this. And it also has a little bit of a hole going on in there. There are pros and cons to this hole. The main reason this is here is to reduce weight in the blade, but it does have a con in that sometimes whenever I do like a whip rollover, if I don't really correct my fingers fast enough, it will kind of catch in this. It's not as bad as some other examples. The Vulp, for a good example, has that problem pretty badly, and I know the Andux ELB Mamba clone has that really badly, so it's not as bad as some of those, probably because it's slightly more inside the blade than it is those knives, but it still is something that I felt the first few times flipping it. I got used to it, and eventually I stopped having that problem, so that is a good thing. Titanium has good corrosion resistance and rust resistance, so this blade will not rust, but it is softer than steel, so it will not hold an edge. A lot of people were going to complain about the handle gap slowly decreasing, but what they did is made the Zen pins titanium as well. So just like how steel on steel contact doesn't deform over time, the titanium on titanium contact will do the same thing. It will not deform over time. And the handle gap is very large, so I don't think it's going to decrease over time. If it did, it's probably just from standard wear that you would commonly see on most Balisongs. Now, the handles itself are 7075 aluminum. These look very raw, almost machined off of a glance, but there is a lot of machining going on with these. For one, the grip of these has, in a lot of areas, almost like a fingerprint style pattern on them, but there's also a lot of lines. The grip in every single spot of the handles is ever changing, and there's a lot of things to talk about. Near the pivots, there is like these vertical lines milled into it, and then in the middle of it, there's again that fingerprint pattern on the surface, and as well as the bottom, there's a crap ton of jimping, and again, those vertical lines as well. So there's a lot of grip on these handles, and that's something that I think definitely should be on an aluminum knife, because if you don't have gripping on the aluminum handles, it's going to be very slippery. Another little quirky feature of the handles is this like screw near the bottom on the inside. It's like almost like a set screw, and when I undid it and looked inside, there was absolutely nothing that was supposed to be held by this screw. And I asked the guy who makes these, and he said that it really is just for adjustable weight. So you have these stainless steel screws that screw into the aluminum handles for a little bit extra handle weight, which is nice, but they're so tiny, I really don't think they add too much to the handles, and if you took them out or lost them by accident, I don't really think it would matter that much. So let's talk about the bushings, because it's running on bushings, and honestly, they're not bad. The bushings are better than I expected. However, after dropping a few times, the tolerances did kind of give out. So it's really not a huge deal, honestly. And honestly, it feels smooth and it swings really nice. And the sound of it is pretty good too. So if you want to take a listen to that. I hit the mic. When it comes to the construction and quality, I'd say this is a pretty good. I give this a solid 8 out of 10 as far as quality goes. It's definitely not something up there like a mainstream Grail titanium Balisong, but it definitely has a good amount of quality, especially for a blemish model. As far as comfortability goes, I would probably have to say maybe a 6 out of 10. Most of the experience is pretty positive. A lot of comfortability coming out of this knife, especially in the handles. They feel very nice, very, very soft, very conformed to my hand. But the main problem I have is the Zen pin notch. The Zen pin notch and all the area around the Zen pins is not rounded. In fact, someone dropped this. I don't know who it was in the earlier pass round, but they dropped this and it created like kind of like a I forget what it's called. It like curled up on one of the edges, and I can literally get my fingernail underneath it, and it pinched me really bad last night. It pinched me really bad. I thought I was gonna bleed, but I'm good. It did leave an imprint, but it hurt really bad, and that's kind of not good. I can really feel the Zen pin notch whenever rollovers exist, index rollovers, whip rollovers, thumb rollovers. Any kind of rollover exists, you're going to feel this notch. So maybe rounding or chamfering this Zen pin notch, or figuring out a less sharper way of making it, because this is definitely where some of that comfortability kind of degrades a little bit. Also, the spine is not touched. There is no chamfering or rounding going on with the spine there. I'm not too sure why this is. Maybe it is because it's a blemish model. Again, there might be some imperfections on it because it's blemished, but the only ones he told me were that it had that chip and there was something else, but it was not that there wasn't any chamfering. So as far again as comfortability, I would say this is a 6 out of 10, mainly due to that Zen pin notch being a bit too sharp. So let's talk about performance, which is one of the biggest things I imagine a lot of you are really wondering about. And I want to say this is good. When talking to the owner yesterday about this Balisong, he told me that he wanted to make a Balisong that was lightweight but controllable. And I honestly think that he achieved that with this. Overall, I definitely think he kind of achieved what he was going for here with this knife. And as far as performance goes, I actually really like it. The balance of it is neutral with like the tiniest hint of blade bias. It's very neutral, very smooth thanks to the bushings. And again, thanks to its lightweight package, I think this is a very sort of quick, nimble Balisong while still remaining controllable. So for that, I'm gonna have to give it a 7 out of 10. I think I would prefer something a bit more grippy, specifically on the sides and the handles, but there's really not much more you can do besides adding finishes. The grip on here is great. I just don't really prefer lightweight flippers most of the time. This did kind of scratch an itch that I did have for lightweight aluminum Balisongs though. So for that, I'll probably have to change that to like a 7.5 out of 10. Overall, I think the overall score of this knife is definitely higher than that. That was just a lone performance score. I think overall, the knife, I think that deserves an 8.5 out of 10, because for the price point, yeah, there are probably better things, but this thing is honestly kind of quirky and I like it, because titanium blade, you don't really see titanium blades that often. And even though it's not used for really anything practical, it does work in the idea they originally had of being lightweight and controllable. And for that, I think it's great. So definitely a cool option if you want to purchase one yourself. The link to the website will be in the description down below. They still have a few of both models left, both the blemished, which are like $100 cheaper, and some of the regular ones without any problems like that, the regular ones, which are $450. The blemished ones, honestly, barely have any issues. So if you do want to pick up one for a little cheaper and get kind of the same performance as the regular ones, that's kind of a steal. So pick one up if you want to. I do really like this. I was very pleasantly surprised. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time for a Monarch V2 review. Peace out.